Hello all and welcome to this, and I haven't done a video in seems like forever. I guess it hasn't been that long because I did do one for Wrestle Kingdom, so there was that. But of course this will be about WWE Royal Rumble. I'll probably throw in some, I'll throw in some network stuff because I haven't really talked about the network. I know people have asked me lots of questions about the network, none of which I know about as much as a lot of you know, so there is that. But that all being said, and I do have a video that I was planning to put up about me and Nightmare Baller, but apparently my computer decided it didn't want to record anything. Sorry, Markeem. But anyways, let's get on with this pay-per-view review. I would say this is a show to see, but probably not for the reasons most people would say. Yeah, the crowd pretty much hijacked this show. It's kind of funny. You know, you have live. Daniel Bryan is crazy over. Yet when you look at the ratings, he's not so much over. Now you could argue that the segments on WWE TV that get the most ratings are the segments that WWE has trained you and told you and tells the general public and tells the normal fans that these are the important segments, so these are the segments you don't want to miss. And I would argue that's the case. Daniel Bryan doesn't sell a lot of merchandise. Of course, you could argue that his merchandise pretty much sucks, and that's probably has a big thing to do with it. Unlike such as CM Punk, who has good merchandise, or even CENA, who is he's their biggest merchandise guy, and he also, of course, gets the best merchandise. Also, say the same thing about The Rock. The Rock, of course, the guys that get the best merchandise have a tendency to sell the best merchandise. It would seem. I mean, that's an argument to be made, but of course, you have that when you look at house shows and attendance. The shows that Daniel Bryan is on don't draw as much, so you've got all of that sort of stuff. Then you have a show like this where, I guess the opening show was really the New Age Outlaws and Cody Rhodes and Goldust, and of course they lost, which sucks. And if you go by what happened in the Rumble, it looks like they are going to break them up, and that's what we're going to get at WrestleMania. And so keeping them together as a good, over tag team that maybe you could build the tag team division around, but instead we have the New Age Outlaws who, weren't even good enough to hold, TNA belts, I don't think. I don't remember them ever holding the TNA belts, so there is that too. So, anyways, we had that match, and that match was a match, and then we had the true opener, which was Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt, which was, of course, no one was looking that forward to, and of course they gave him a lot of time due to the fact that they pretty much had nothing booked for the show, which pretty much sucks. You would imagine that they could at least book some stuff for the show to make it, so they didn't have to fill so much time. They literally had parts where they could have stuck at least 2 more matches on the show, and it would have been absolutely fine. But this went really long. It was absolutely great match. It's a match, really, I would say, to go out of your way and see. It, in a lot of ways, made Bray Wyatt, I would say, for those that saw it. Bray Wyatt won, of course, because they, for those of you not aware, what they're trying to set up is, of all things, for WrestleMania, John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. Yeah, exactly. So that's what we got. Then we got the next match, which was Brock Lesnar taking on Big Show, and of course this was, they've been building up Brock Lesnar destroying all the monsters in WWE. Basically all we got was, Brock Lesnar destroying Big Show with a chair for forever. Went way too long. I don't know why they felt the need to, protect. That's what it felt like to me. Like they were protecting Big Show because Brock had to use a chair to get rid of Big Show. And though I think that Brock needed to beat up Big Show because the plan there is, of course, for Brock Lesnar to take on The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Don't know about that either, but we can get on. Especially if Sting is available, I would do Sting versus Undertaker, and then that would free up Brock to take on Daniel Bryan, and let Daniel Bryan and Brock just go out there and have a show-stealing type match, you know, and then have, you know, Undertaker and Sting have their smoke and mirrors match and their standoff and their WrestleMania moment, and have it all be entrances and hype and all of that, and maybe not even a long match, and be done with it. But that's just me. So that happened, and that was kind of boring. And then we had like almost 30 minutes of nothing that went on the pay-per-view. A lot of talking, a lot of interviews, a lot of stuff like that. And then we got the WWE title match, the unification match, or the unified WWE World Title, or whatever they're calling it, match. John Cena versus Randy Orton. Randy Orton versus John Cena, I should say. And the fans didn't want to see this. This is not what they wanted to see. These aren't the two guys they want to have the title, so they just shat on it. Probably the last 3 years, this show has become a show that a lot of diehards have a tendency to travel to go see. Not as much as WrestleMania, but more and more diehards go to see, you know, Royal Rumble, because people love the Rumble. People like the Rumble itself. They like the show. They like, you know, all of that sort of stuff. So you have a lot of diehards there. And, yeah, this was something to see indeed. Eventually, they did get the fans into it. They had to do, like, pull out a WrestleMania almost, well, I shouldn't say that. They had to do a lot of, like, stuff you don't normally see in a WWE match for them to finally get into it at the end. And then we had that. Then we had the Royal Rumble. And the Royal Rumble was, I thought, fun. It was enjoyable. Though, again, it had a lot to do with the crowd. CM Punk and Seth Rollins were in the match a long time. That helped for me. Kofi Kingston did his, you know, yearly, you know, spectacular stunt where he ran from the on the barricade and jumped onto the ring, which was pretty cool. Kevin Nash was a big surprise. Wasn't so big into that, though he got eliminated quite early by Roman Reigns. This was pretty much the Roman Reigns show in a lot of ways. He got a big push. He eliminated more guys than anyone has ever eliminated in the Royal Rumble. They definitely set up the fact that the Superman punch is his finisher, to the point where he even did like what he would do to set up the Superman punch as his finisher. So we had that. Batista, of course, won. The fans were pretty upset about that. They were pretty upset when Daniel Bryan wasn't even in the Royal Rumble, though I thought they had set that up, and he probably shouldn't have been. If he wasn't going to win, shouldn't have been, because I think they didn't put him in there knowing that if he was in the match and didn't win, these fans probably would have crapped all over the winner. Well, they ended up crapping all over the winner anyways. They really didn't. They eventually got where they cared about Roman Reigns. Him and Sheamus were the last, with Batista were the last three. They really didn't care about those three. They just started caring about Roman Reigns. There were a lot of no chants, a lot of boos. They eventually, it sounded like they turned up the volume on the announcers and music to cut down on the boos that were going on in the arena. So there was all of that. And so that's pretty much, you know, that's a real quick review, but there wasn't a lot that happened on this show. And even though I enjoyed watching it, it's not something I would probably ever watch again. The crowd helped make the show a lot better than it was, just a train wreck type show. So not an enjoyable show, but just something like, it was entertaining, but not for the right reasons, I guess is what you would say. And yeah, just was not there. I'm not upset about this as much as a lot of other people are. I've basically just given up. I mean, Daniel Bryan, from the moment he came into WWE, has never been pushed and never been treated like a guy that the fans should ever care about. And then, you know, they're surprised when the more casual fans don't care about him. Well, because you've never given him a reason to care about him. You know, eventually, if you know, the diehards keep hijacking the show, eventually they may go, "Ooh, wait a minute, maybe this guy is good. Maybe we should watch this guy. Maybe there is something about this guy that we don't understand." Maybe. But yeah, so this of course sets up the Royal Rumble, or the WrestleMania, which it looks like it's going to be, like I said, Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. Really, that's a WrestleMania match. Orton versus Batista for the title, which that's at least sounds WrestleMania-esque. I don't think it's a match anyone really definitely wants to see. Brock versus Undertaker, that sounds WrestleMania-worthy. Won't lie there. I believe it's Triple H and Punk is the other rumored match. So yeah, not Triple H and Daniel Bryan, though that's what it should be. Let's see, Goldust and Cody Rhodes, which I don't agree with that either. Let's see, what am I missing out? Oh, and then Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus. Yes, that will be the Daniel Bryan match, and I would imagine we'll probably get some match involving the Shield and then breaking up maybe a three-way or maybe something along those lines. But yeah, that doesn't sound like a wonderful WrestleMania to me. I don't think it would be hard to overshadow WrestleMania as far as putting on better shows that weekend, particularly if New Japan puts on a show that weekend, which I believe Invasion Attack, again, will be on that show, I believe. Maybe Dominion, I can't remember. And I believe they have a show scheduled for that, and if that's the case, then it should be pretty outstanding. But yeah, but again, this continues the trend of not good WWE pay-per-views. You know, this is the first WWE pay-per-view I think I've reviewed since I can't remember when, and there's a reason for that, because I believe the last one I watched I didn't like, and then I didn't watch SummerSlam. I know I didn't watch Survivor Series, and I know I didn't watch TLC, and I did watch this because it's the Royal Rumble. But Elimination Chamber, you know, I might watch because, you know, you're talking about the Elimination Chamber. That's usually a good match, so I might watch that. But, you know, other than that, you know, I've watched some Raws only because over the last couple of weeks I've had Mondays off or Monday nights off, so it's been easy for me to watch Raw, and there's not much else for me to really watch TV on Mondays that I can think of. And I usually don't even watch all of Raw. I usually watch up to, you know, the Daniel Bryan match, the CM Punk match, the Shield stuff, and then I usually get bored and, you know, don't watch anything else on the show. Much the same way, like I watched Impact 2 weeks ago because I was waiting to see the Wolves, thinking that they would debut the Wolves as wrestling, not the way they debuted the Wolves. And so yeah, so I didn't watch this week's Impact because, again, you had no Wolves. But yeah. So there is all of that, and I think that leads right up to the network, because everyone's excited about the network, not because of like why I'm excited about the network, and the fact that even though we're not going to get everything in the WWE library, the fact that off the bat you're going to get all the WCW pay-per-views, which I believe will include, I would think, we'll see, the New Japan WCW pay-per-views, and the and When Worlds Collide. All the WWE pay-per-views, which I would think would include the UK exclusive pay-per-views as well as the Wrestling Classic, which I've never seen, and let's see, and Tuesday in Texas, which I think I've only ever seen once, even though I hear neither of them is all that great, but it's something I've never seen. Same thing with the, you know, the New Japan WCW pay-per-views. I've never seen those, and not that I've heard that any of them are any good. And of course all the ECW pay-per-views. I don't know what else from ECW they'll put up, but they will put all the old ECW pay-per-views, which will be cool, even though they'll probably be edited. Chris Benoit will be on. You know, they're not going to edit Chris Benoit off, but though apparently they are going to edit. Apparently the only edits that I've heard about are going to be the music. Apparently everything else is pretty much going to be intact. So there is that, but and that excites me. And then whatever TV shows, or, you know, the territory stuff that they put up, I'm excited about that too. As I think a lot of guys have said on here, that it looks, oh, and all the WWE DVDs apparently will be up day one as well. That will be cool to be able to go back and see all the WWE DVDs. Though I would imagine the Chris Benoit DVD probably won't be on there, but who knows? That would be interesting to see. But all the other ones will be on there. Oh, and, you know, like Canadian Stampede, that entire show, which I would recommend every single person seeing, will be on that. Will be up to see. So that sort of stuff will be on there for everybody. But of course, what everyone's really excited about is, and what most people, when you talk to them, is the fact that you're going to get the pay-per-views for $9.99 a month. Every single or 6 months of pay-per-view for basically $60. which is not a bad deal at all, including WrestleMania, which when of course they originally announced the network, when they started announcing that this might be, they may include the pay-per-views, WrestleMania was excluded, but apparently they're going to add WrestleMania with the hope that they can get in as many people as they can to sign up. I don't know how many people will sign up, and we'll see. We don't know if next year is going to include as well. I would imagine if they have like 2 million subscribers next year, that then probably no WrestleMania. Or there will be WrestleMania only, you know, will be included in the deal as well. If you don't have, like, if you have less than 1 million subscribers, then I would imagine that WrestleMania will not be included next year. But who knows? But, you know, to me, if that's the case, then WWE has to up their game when it comes to the pay-per-views, because people have to feel like they're getting something for that $10. And if they feel like, you know what, who cares if I'm getting crappy pay-per-views for $10 a month, because I really don't care, that's not good. And they definitely have to change that. So we will see. We'll see if it's turned, if their pay-per-view business, you know, when they announced it, they said, you know, well, pay-per-view's pretty much dead, which I would disagree with. You can see that with, you know, some UFC events. The UFC puts on way too many events now, and that hurts. By far, that hurts. But they can still pop, you know. You look at George St. Pierre could draw big for an event. Anderson Silva could draw big for an event. You figure if when Anderson Silva comes back from his broken leg, and he fights George St. Pierre, if they do that fight will be massive. That fight will be well over 1 million buys. And you know, in any pretty much Mayweather boxing match, you know, gets massive buys as well. So it's not that I would say pay-per-view is dead. I think that wrestling pay-per-views have really suffered because they haven't made them events. They've just made them shows, like monthly big shows. And when you look at what, if they turn it into what TNA turned their pay-per-views in, which basically were, you know, these big shows, which basically just led up into, you know, the next Impact, or in WWE's case, the next Raw, then it's going to be like, well, who really cares? Because I can, you know, I can watch Raw on my TV, or I can watch Raw without, you know, spending an extra $10 a month. So, you know, there is that. So that's kind of my opinion on the network. Like I said, I will get it only because of, not because of the pay-per-views per se, because, and I'll probably still watch some of them if I'm interested in them, but you know, I'm more interested in the other stuff myself, and not even the original content, just more of the library aspect of it. You tell me I can get all of WCW and all of the WWE pay-per-views, and then you add in all the ECW pay-per-views, I'm a happy camper. And then you throw in some other stuff as well. That will be good. You know, I know a lot of people, like, I keep hearing people thinking that everybody, you know, you're going to get everything day one. You need to realize that, you know, you're not going to get everything day one. The entire WWE library is too massive to put on a streaming site. And apparently the streaming site's going to be pretty good, because they are partnered with the people to do the Major League Baseball streaming. Apparently that's, like, amazing. I've never seen it. I've only heard. So there is that too. So anyways, that's what I have to say about that. I guess we will see. But anyways, I've rambled on long enough. As you can tell, I'm so not excited for WrestleMania. You know, I enjoyed these shows, but I will tell you that the CMLL New Japan shows that I watched, that I didn't review, and I haven't watched all of the second night, or all of the third night, I guess. Yeah, there's 3 shows. Those were a lot of fun, and I've not seen them. I've not seen all of them, but those were a lot of fun, and I had more fun watching those. But the next big New Japan show I will review, and for those of you that care. So anyways, then we'll probably be, once me and Markeem, once I figure out why it didn't work when me and Markeem did the last video, we'll probably do another video which will review a comic book movie called Justice League War, which absolutely sucked, which we both agreed with. But anyways, with that, I'm out. Have a good one. Later.